What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Have a bunch of stuff to talk about today, including Steamworld Dig is finally going to the Switch. This kind of completes everything when it comes to Steamworld, especially if you're a fan of it and you missed out on it. It's coming. We're going to talk about that pretty soon. And then we also have to talk about Dragon Ball FighterZ. Reviews are coming out for it, and it looks good. It looks better than I thought it was going to be after hearing about the loot boxes. However, it looks like those are not intrusive really at all in the game, which makes me much happier to pick that up this Friday. And then we also have to talk a bit about Goldeneye. That's right, Goldeneye on the Nintendo 64 got an interesting mod that seems to blend the Mario world and the Mario universe with Goldeneye. I think you guys are going to like this, so let's get started. So if you haven't realized it yet, Image and Form Games are bringing a lot of their games over to the Switch. Steamworld Dig 2 shows up there. It was great on the Switch. Even though it was also on other systems, people picked it up like crazy on the Switch. Topped the eShop charts. It sold really well. SteamWorld Heist Ultimate Edition shows up, also does well. Great game, by the way, if you missed out on that. And now it sounds like they're coming full circle, and they're bringing SteamWorld Dig, the first one that came out on the 3DS back in 2013, to the Nintendo Switch as well. Now, this was revealed in an interview on an episode of Dan Koopman's eShop Action Committee podcast. You can listen to that over at Nintendo World Report. I'll actually leave a link down in the description if you just want to check that out with some of the sources list there. Now, this game is coming out February 1st. It's going to be $9.99, and it's going to be great for people who just really got back into gaming. Let's say maybe you missed out on some of the previous generation stuff. A lot of people I'm talking to are kind of coming back to gaming with the Nintendo Switch, and I think it makes a lot of sense, by the way, if you're an indie developer, even if you release some of your indie games or just games in general on previous systems, makes a ton of sense to show up on the Switch here with your game. Listen, it's also been on pretty much everything at this point. PC, Mac, Linux, PS4, PlayStation Vita, Wii U, Xbox One. It's everywhere. But the fact that it's coming to the Switch, I think it'll do well there too. It's interesting that all these indie games seem to sell well, and I think that's because there are a lot of people who really haven't been exposed to any of these indie games with the Switch. I'm seeing celebrities on Twitter really tweet out that they're just now getting back into games with the Switch. You see them post about it. Sports teams are buying them in bulk because they're all playing them on the plane or on the bus. And then there are people I've talked to personally who are interested in the Switch that really don't play games much, but because of the way the Switch is, where it's portable, it's interesting to them to kind of have in their household, maybe when they're watching TV or something, to just kind of play, because it seems different to them than playing on their TV. It's kind of an interesting perspective I hadn't really thought about, but after really reaching out to family members and friends who don't generally talk about it, but have actually asked me about the Switch, it's kind of interesting to think that it doesn't really appear like some of the other home consoles, the PS4 and the Xbox One. It seems more, I guess, user-friendly to them. It's hard to describe, but if you're an indie developer, it's worth bringing your game over. I wouldn't even ask fans anymore. I mean, there's some indie developers who still ask fans, would you like this game on the Switch? Most of them probably would, and they'd probably buy into it. And the fact that something like Steamworld Dig, the first one's gonna be $10, yeah, people are going to buy it, especially if you like the second one. Go pick this up February 1st, $9.99. Seems completely worth it. Next up, let's talk a bit about Rocket League. Now that it's made its way to the Switch, and it's pretty much available on all the current platforms, including PC, PS4, Xbox One, and then the Switch, a lot of people really enjoy the cross-play aspect. You can actually play against other people on different systems with this game. Now, there is a bit of a barrier. If you're on the PS4, you're playing with PC, but if you're on the Switch or the Xbox One, you can then play with PC or other Switch and Xbox One users, because Sony's weird with their cross-play. We know this by now. But the one thing they haven't had is cross-party support, which means you being on the Xbox One or the PC or the Switch can't play with the Xbox One owners or the PC users. Basically, you can't have Xbox One or Switch people in the same party, for example. You can find each other in matchmaking. You can randomly be on each other's teams that way, but you can't start a party, invite somebody else from another system into your game. And that, I think, has a lot to do with stuff like differences in infrastructure. For example, if you're on Xbox Live, how do you send an invite to somebody who's on the Switch? That seems kind of odd. It seems like you need a little bit of help from Nintendo and Microsoft themselves. However, they both seem very interested in crossplay, so it might be easier than you think. And this, after seeing someone reach out to them, they actually got back to them and said, well, we're going to work on it and try to get it done this year, saying, hey there, we're actively working on cross-platform party support for a 2018 release. So this is pretty exciting for people who like Rocket League, but don't like having to kind of pair up randomly with friends. It's kind of tough, because there are a lot of people that play Rocket League, right? And this is pretty clear that they want this to be a game that can be played across all platforms. I think if they could have it their way, Sony and Xbox, they would just work together fine. The PS4 and the Xbox would work fine, no problem. Same with the Switch and everything. It would just be one large ecosystem of Rocket League because they've managed to get pretty much all versions of the game running at 60 frames, so there's really no skill disparity there or anything between really how it all runs. Now, of course, resolution does change between something like the Switch or the Xbox, but it doesn't seem to affect things when it comes to controllers, anything like that. So I would like to see him get this done. I would like to see Sony, by the way, pull down that barrier so we can have it for everything, because Fortnite keeps messing up and keeps giving people the ability to do crossplay, so it's completely possible. And as developers have said, it's just a switch apparently or a toggle they have to pretty much flip on, and that's it. So hopefully Sony comes up with it, but it looks like at least Rocket League is going to try to get that all sorted out this year so you can invite friends from other systems into your party and have a much better matchmaking experience. Next up, let's talk about a former SEGA employee who really helped develop and get Sonic off of the ground, some of the original ones. Also things like Nights into Dreams, for example. This person has now joined Square Enix. This is very interesting for people who are fans of RPGs, for example, because they also worked on Phantasy Star, and I'm talking about none other than the Sonic team head, Yuji Nakata. And this caught fans off guard big time because he posted on Twitter saying, "Just a quick note to let you know, I joined Square Enix in January. I'm joining game development as before and strive to develop games at Square Enix. I aim to develop an enjoyable game. Please look forward to it." Now, Yuji Nakata actually left SEGA back in 2006, started up his own studio called Probe, which released Let's Tap in 2008 for the Wii. So it hasn't been extremely successful, his studio, and it makes sense why he might want to join Square Enix, where I'm sure the funding is there. Maybe he wants to develop some new IP. Maybe Square Enix has an older IP that they want to revive and bring back. I'm sure you guys can list a ton of ideas since they have worked on things like Phantasy Star or Nights into Dreams, or even Sonic, I guess, maybe if there's a platformer they want to bring back. But there's a lot of stuff they could get into and bring back, maybe for a mid-tier games. Think of something like Lost Sphere, right? I could easily see Yuji Nakata work on something along that kind of setup, like a AA game. Come in and build a really cool RPG, build a really cool platformer, build something a little crazy like Nights into Dreams. But this is something we're going to have to keep an eye on, because when they eventually do announce this game, it's going to get a lot of press, because this is the former person at SEGA who developed Sonic, for example, showing up at Square Enix and developing their own game or bringing back an old game. So keep in mind, if you see Yuji Nakata's name show up in a game reveal, or it's announced that he's working on a certain IP or certain game for Square Enix, it's going to be very interesting to see what this person comes up with, because he has a storied history of game development with some pretty good games. So we'll keep an eye on that and see what happens here. Next up, let's talk about a Goldeneye on the Nintendo 64 mod. And this mod was really funny. I had it sent over to me. I took a look at it, watched the video, and this looks great. This is so funny to play back through Goldeneye this way, and it makes me want to go play it again with this modification, because it brings in sprites, character models from the Mushroom Kingdom, specifically Super Mario 64, into the game as enemies, as protagonists, as NPCs essentially. So you're going through the levels and you're gunning down like Koopas, you're gunning down all different types of people. Bowser, for example. The multiplayer is great because you can be like Mario, Luigi, Peach, everybody. And it's great because this apparently works on real hardware. And this was done by Stupid Mario Bros. 1 fan. They released a video on YouTube talking about how, again, it works on actual hardware, and that means that if you do put it on a Nintendo 64 cartridge, one of the ones you can flash, it will work on your Nintendo 64. So you and a bunch of friends can get together, run around as Mario, Luigi, or Bowser with like the Golden Gun, for example, or go through the entire campaign, and, well, you fight against Koopas and Bowser and all kinds of different people that are pulled in from that Mushroom Kingdom. And it looks really funny. It looks like it could be a good time if you're a GoldenEye fan. Might be something worth trying out, whether it's like in an emulator just to play it, or maybe you're one of those people who actually has a cartridge flasher and the cartridge is Nintendo 64. You can technically flash this and try it out and see how it runs on your original hardware. That's when I'm curious to see how it actually runs like together on original hardware with these kind of sprites. It would be kind of weird to see, but it'd be really funny to try out. Next up, let's talk a bit about Wolfenstein 2 on the Nintendo Switch, because fans are wondering, what is this game going to look like? How's it going to run? And when's it coming out? All we know is 2018, right? That's all we've heard about. We did hear in an interview review a month or two ago that it was going to be Panic Button who was going to be handling this port, and it looks like we actually had official confirmation at this point from Bethesda's Twitter handle saying, "We're happy to confirm our continued development partnership with Panic Button Game, who will be bringing Wolfenstein 2 to Nintendo Switch. We're excited to share more information on Wolf 2 soon." And this has people excited for a bunch of reasons. One, it's going to be really cool to see this game running on the Switch and how it'll run, of course, and when it's coming out. But also has people excited because this seems to allude to either announcement just from them, which if it was just coming from them, they probably would have just put it on Twitter, maybe with this. It seems like they're getting people hyped up for something. What would they get people hyped up for? Maybe a Nintendo Direct? Is that possible? That's what people are thinking here. They're now assuming that this could be alluding to maybe a February Direct, like a lot of people assume is going to happen, or a very late at this point, January one, maybe like, I don't know, like the last week in January or something. But it seems pretty clear that, yeah, we could see a Direct soon from something like Nintendo showing off Wolfenstein 2. It's also possible that they are getting a trailer ready, and that's why they're saying more information is coming soon. Maybe a trailer drops with actual in-game footage of the game playing, and then, hey, here's a release date. Which, keep in mind, when we heard about Doom, it came out a lot sooner than we thought it would. I mean, it came out, like, we heard about it, and then months later it came out. This could be the same situation here. We'll hear about it, and then maybe it makes the release in April. Maybe it comes out in May. That'd be pretty cool to see that. Panic Button has become very familiar with Nintendo's hardware with the Switch, and they're getting pretty good at getting ports done in a timely fashion and at least running well. I'm gonna be curious, since they'll have more time with the engine, maybe Wolfenstein 2 actually runs better than Doom. Maybe it runs at a higher resolution. It's kind of a closed corridor shooter a lot of times, but still, they'd have more time to develop and work on this. So sure, I'm sure they're probably working on patches and stuff for Doom as they go forward, much like they've done with Rocket League. But I would like to see them get more and more time with id Tech Software's, id Tech, their actual engine here, and maybe make a really good-looking Wolfenstein 2 on the Switch, within reason, of course, on the hardware. Either way, this game's going to be portable, and it's going to be very interesting to see running on a handheld. In our last bit of news, let's talk about Dragon Ball FighterZ very quickly. It did have a lot of reviews come out. The embargo lifted yesterday, and the reviews look pretty good. A lot of them are saying things like the combos aren't too hard to pull off if you're a beginner, but if you're an expert, you can string them together and have a very good competitive match. Currently sits at an 87 on Metacritic. IGN gave it an 85 just for reference. WCCF Tech gave it a 90. And overall, it looks like it's going to be a very fun, very enjoyable fighting experience. They said the story was enjoyable, which is what I'm looking forward to. And they all said one thing that made me very relieved. The loot box system is not intrusive, at least to the degree that you would expect with some games now. And it's all in-game money like we talked about before. There is no microtransactions with actual money and credit cards that they have seen. So I am very excited for Friday to get here when it's supposed to release, and I'm going to be all over Dragon Ball FighterZ. It's going to be great. I'm still trying to figure out if I'm going to get on the Xbox, PS4, or I guess PC at this point. I'm still working kind of where I want this to go. I'm leaning on PS4 because that controller is pretty good with fighters, but we'll see. I'm happy to know that the game has turned out well so far. It's getting good reviews across the board, and it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun this weekend when I get to dive back into Dragon Ball FighterZ, after finding out that, well, Dragon Ball Super is going to be going on hiatus and ending soon. So, you know, at least you get a new story here, even though the current canon story has to end soon. But let me know what you guys think about Dragon Ball FighterZ, and if you're buying in this week when it comes out, or if you're going to be waiting a little while, whether it's a price drop, or maybe you're one of the people in my Twitter message that said, I'm waiting for the Switch version. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think down below, though. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for Newswave today. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, guys. Really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave a bunch of comments down below about any of the stuff we talked about today, whether it is Wolfenstein 2. Maybe you're waiting for it to come out on the Switch, and you're really happy to hear that news is coming, because it's been kind of quiet, hasn't it? We haven't heard much at all about Wolfenstein 2, other than speculation, and that Panic Button was going to be handling the port from some of their internal developers telling us this, but now we have actual confirmation on their Twitter account, and that more information is absolutely coming soon. So this could be kind of the build-up for a direct, or maybe a trailer dropping with gameplay footage. Either way, we win, and we get to find out when it comes out. I'm excited. Are you excited for Steamworld? Steamworld Dig getting released on the Switch to kind of give you access to the entire library there for everyone who maybe missed out on it. It's going to be fun. And then, of course, let me know what you think about Dragon Ball FighterZ, and if you're picking it up. I am, but I want to know if you're picking it up, which system you're getting on, or maybe you're hopeful for an eventual Switch release. But if not, let me know what system you're getting on. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.